Hola compañeros papadaficos, pues aquí estamos un día más. Vamos a continuar con la historia en VAMPYR, nuestro amigo Jonathan Reed, y a ver si descubrimos el último distrito. Nos cargamos Whitechapel. Whitechapel está donete, aunque ha habido... Joe Peterson parece que ha sobrevivido. El malote de... El extorsionador de Whitechapel parece que ha sobrevivido. Esta misión ya no la podemos hacer porque nos lo hemos cargado. Lo bueno es que las hice casi todas. Solo me dejé una por hacer. Así que bueno, hay una misión aquí que podríamos ir a mirar. A ver qué es. Lo que me queda por descubrir es esto. West End. Los muelles ya lo tenemos. El mapa es chiquitito. El mapa es muy pequeño. Pero bueno, no es un juego de explorar, es un juego de hablar con la peña. Vamos a seguir con la principal. Antes de ir a revisar... nada. Nada secundario del mapa. Un segundo. Esto fuera. Vale, ya. Ahí, perfecto. Vale, y vamos a ver qué nos comenta nuestro amigo Swansea. No está... Ah, vale, voy a decir, no estaba aquí. Uy, una nota. ¿Coleccionable? Carta de aviso. ¿Qué tal, Pembroke? 25 de octubre. Estimado doctor Swansea, debo informarle de mis más serias dudas en torno al caso del doctor Zoreau Strickland y Harvey Fiddick. El señor Fiddick ha sido hospitalizado tras un grave accidente laboral. Podría perder para siempre la movilidad del brazo si no recibe tratamiento adecuado. El doctor Strickland asegura que un procedimiento quirúrgico podría salvar por completo drásticamente si surge alguna complicación. Nuestro joven compañero es un cirujano audaz y osado que podría llegar a ser un gran profesional con el tiempo, pero de momento carece de las habilidades necesarias para llegar a cabo un procedimiento tan arriesgado. ¿Acaso hace falta recordar los errores que cometió en el pasado? Dado que el doctor Strickland se niega a escucharme, le aconsejo encarecidamente que le prohíba llevar a cabo un experimento así de peligroso. La carta era de Aykroyd, el otro médico. Anda, mira, la última pista que me quedaba. Ya tenemos toda la sangre de estos dos. Bueno, de este no, de Aykroyd todavía no tenemos la última. ¿La pista que me ha dado? No. Esta. Las habilidades médicas de Zoreau fueron cuestionadas en el pasado. ¿Hay algo más? Mira aquí. Carta de Rakesh Chadana. Estimado doctor Swansea, estaré encantado de administrar la morgue temporal tan pronto como abra. Como ya le dije, fui médico durante... Este es el indio que robaba los cadáveres. Fui médico durante la guerra y será un placer volver a servir a mi país. Soy consciente de que es muy diferente atender a pacientes vivos que muertos, pero creo que es importante recibir y brindar la mejor atención a nuestros difuntos también. Le garantizo que me esforzaré al máximo en el desempeño de mis nuevas funciones. Respecto a la cuestión de mi título, lamento no poder ofrecerle nada más valioso que mi palabra. Lo único que puedo hacer es prometerle que el regimiento me nombró médico durante la guerra y que salvé muchas vidas. Si mi palabra no es suficiente, puedo ponerse en contacto con la administración militar para verificar mi experiencia y mis habilidades. Ellos confirmarán que aún sin haber realizado estudios médicos, la guerra me enseñó lo que un auténtico profesional debe saber. Atentamente, Rakesh Chadana, antiguo médico. Rakesh fue nombrado médico por error durante la guerra. Buena. A Rakesh me lo voy a puto comer, No me puede caer peor el puto indio. Estafador. Robando cadáveres.
Evening, Edgar. Could I get your professional opinion?
Please speak, but I have something important to tell you.
Que se os ha muerto un paciente. Lo he matado yo, ¿qué pasa?
Different from the one I saw in Europe. It's downright peculiar.
Really? What makes you say that?
Es obvio.
I've just looked at the blood of one of our recently deceased.
I see. Do you have anything more to go on?
This disease spreads and looks like the Spanish flu, but its effects differ greatly. The London strain is different from the continental one.
This is very interesting. Did you find something
Es
else?
distinto al continental. Sí, claro.
Yes. Unlike the flu, the infected begin to show an increase in outwardly aggressive behavior. More than simple agitation. Once docile people become violent.
You mean like rabies? Is there a chance we could create a vaccine, Jonathan, like Pasteur? By the stove, that would be smashing.
There's a lot we're not seeing here. But it is spreading, and quickly. If we don't act, the whole city could be lost.
But Jonathan, we've a fantastic opportunity sitting right here in front of us. A weapon of choice.
What on earth do you mean?
Why, you, my dear boy. With your expertise and your blood, we could isolate the properties that course through your veins. Think about the possibilities.
No te flipes, amigo Swansea. Coño. Ya lo he hecho. ¿Cómo que ya lo he hecho? Convertir Londres en mi reino. Vamos a ver.
I admit it did occur to me. Blood seems to be the common factor in all of this.
I totally agree. We're in uncharted territory here. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but imagine the possibilities.
We'll discuss this more later. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Jonathan. But as I said, I needed to talk to you. I have some rather bad news.
Yes?
I'm afraid it's your sister.
My sister?
She's to be buried this evening at Whitechapel Cemetery. Your
Pero
mother
estará
published
llena de
the
skulls,
obituary
¿no?
this morning.
I see.
I'm sorry, Jonathan. Please accept my condolences.
Ojo en la tumba. Dirígete al cementerio de Stonebridge. Para allá. Donde estaba la interrogante. Bueno, interrogante, el evento, ¿no? Buenas.
I never thought I would have to attend my murdered sister's funeral. Mary,
Asesinada por
I
ti,
can't
además.
forgive myself. I'll find the truth about what happened to us. I swear.
Estado del distrito hostil. Es allí. Buena forma de cruzar el distrito sin que te vean. ¡Yo! Vaya galletas. A ver. Ah. ¿Soy yo o no me ha quitado vida? No me ha quitado vida. Está bien. ¿Y esto de aquí? Esto de aquí. Ha ocurrido un evento desconocido. ¿Pero dónde? ¿Aquí? Me lo voy a marcar porque... Se supone que aquí. No sé. Se supone que aquí ha ocurrido algo, pero no me... No hay nada, ni nadie. Whatever, vamos al cementerio.
My dear sister, I don't know if I have the strength.
Buenas. Así da gusto matar Skulls ahora. Los que lo destruyen. Uy, ¿dónde vas? Ah. ¿Están muertos todos? Ok. Asiste discretamente al funeral de Mari. Porque debería asistir discretamente sin mi hermana. Pregunto, ¿eh? Gracias. Y hace los restos de Harry Peterson. Ah, este es el que maté. Bueno, no de los que maté. De los que me comí en el distrito Whitechapel, el hijo. El hijo de Joe.
Since I can't reveal myself to my mother now, I must find a discreet spot to attend the ceremony.
No me puedo presentar ante mi madre. ¿Se creen que he muerto?
He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. We commend unto thy hands of mercy, most merciful Father, the soul of our sister departed, and we commit her body to the ground. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
¿Qué le pasa en la cara al tío?
Why kill my Mary and stick her here in this cold, god-awful place?
These are the legal requirements for the epidemic, madam.
Oh, Avery, I feel so tired. Please take me home.
Yes, madam.
Ah, es el mayordomo. Buenos TPs, sí señor.
Oh, Mary. What have I done?
Pero dar un buen bocado.
If I could only change one thing.
Madre mía, vaya barbita, ¿eh? Que lleva nuestro señor. Esa barbita.
This is a nightmare.
Colocada a la perfección.
Jonathan, there is nothing you can do but accept it.
Buenas.
What brings you here?
I thought you could use the company. I am so sorry for your loss, Jonathan.
She was a good person. Vibrant, full of life. She was kindness incarnate, my Mary.
You're a good person, Jonathan. And a young Ekon. A newborn cast into the night without so much as a candle to guide your way.
She had been scouring the most dangerous parts of London in search of me. And it led to her death.
Jonathan, don't.
I still hear her last thoughts. They echo in my head. Her mind shattered, and it haunts me.
Jonathan, stop. Listen carefully. You must come to terms with this. You must learn to live with what happened.
No cada noche.
How can I? I've destroyed my family. My poor mother. I can't even console her.
Don't you see? You're doing the work of our enemies, feeding your remorse. We are weakest when we grieve, and the guilt blurs our senses.
And so this is why you're here. To warn me. You've felt this pain yourself. You too have endured this.
I don't want to lose you, Jonathan. I've lost so many friends.
Si me conoces de hace 2 días.
I cherished. Pray for Mary's forgiveness.
No quiero perderte, dice. Y no me conoces de nada.
Thank you, my lady. I will.
Good. But be careful. If I found you here, others may too.
What should I do then?
St. Mary's Church is not far from here. Go there and make your peace. Find the solace you need.
My lady wants me to confess.
No, Jonathan. It's you who wants to confess, I think.
Bueno, pues vamos. Perderse a San Mary. Gracias porque cuando me dan un golpe es como que pierdo más estamina incluso. No sé.
And off to church he goes, a newborn seeking divine consent to lick the blood from the soft and pointy crown.
Who are you? Make yourself known.
Newborn, you reek of guilt and pointless compassion. Shed your skin, forget your old weaker self.
Este puto
What do you
orco.
want from me?
Madre de Dios bendito, pero ¿dónde vas con esos
Ascalon does
puños?
not approve of lone wolves who bring unwanted eyes to our pastures.
So your name is Ascalon.
Ascalon's will is vampire law. Learn them, abide by
¿Dónde
them.
vas? Pero vaya
I
bicho.
shall return as your judge and jury.
Madre de amor de Dios. Vaya bestia.
These immortals try my patience with their plans and unsolicited counsel.
Hermano, la mierda de guardia de Freewen. Tenía un Skull detrás. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde me dispara? Ahí. Aquí. Por aquí. Ah, ¿qué? Pero que queda alguien vivo por aquí. Yo, a lo mejor, el que estaba desaparecido. No, es
Yes?
otro.
What is it that you want?
I'm sorry to disturb you at such a late hour.
No worries, my son. I'm still quite awake, having just returned from a funeral.
Yes, I know. I've forgotten what I wanted. I don't know.
Pastor Joseph
May I help
Larrabe.
you, child? You seem somewhat perturbed.
I haven't the strength to cross the threshold. I wish to pray, to cleanse my soul.
The church is shut by order of the bishop. But I'm still the vicar of St. Mary's, if that is any use to you, my son.
Hay un Skull por ahí a la izquierda. Dando gritos.
You seem to me a good soul, Vicar. But this is a personal matter.
There are no secrets from God, my son. If your heart needs comfort, consider me your chapel. For I can be as silent as stone.
Ya.
I've words for one departed. They're not for living ears to hear.
Your eyes burn with rage, yet I see the pain that lies
Como que
beyond.
los tengo inyectados en sangre.
I am here to lighten the burden of all God's creatures. Whatever you
Me
tell
está poniendo nervioso el Scalde por ahí al fondo gritando.
Very well, priest. As you seem quite adamant.
Open your heart, my son. Tell me what burdens you. With whom do you wish to speak?
She was my sister.
You seem so troubled by the loss of this girl. What happened to her?
She was murdered.
I see. And how are you feeling, my son?
I feel responsible. The pain is consuming me.
I have a final question for you, my son. This is of the utmost importance.
Ask your question, Vicar.
What words would you like to say to your poor sister?
I killed you. There's no excuse. My dear Mary, forgive me.
You have been heard, my son, and your burden will lighten if your words are sincere. Go in peace now, and live your life in the way she would have wanted.
¿Está? Vamos al hospital. Vale. ¿Este evento aquí o...?
I confessed to that vicar. Do I feel better? Only time will tell.
No puedo abrir la puerta. Ya estamos. Pues está en nivel 20. ¿Puedo abrir la puerta ya? Gracias. Permiso. No. No me voy a parar. Hasta luego. Los dos ni se han enterado, ¿no? Boom. Vaya muerto. Vale.
Remorse and pain are precious when binding you to the earth.
¿Este es mi creador?
You. I remember you.
No, la cornamenta.
Fear be gone. I would harm no child of my making.
This is your doing. You made me this creature. What are you?
I am the land. You are our champion.
Tell me what you are.
I am the whitened bones and blackened soil.
Ya estamos
The
con los
land
acertijos.
made blood coursing through thy veins.
What is it you seek?
This age is sickly. An ancient poison, an older rage, brewed in a cauldron newly forged.
This has something to do with the epidemic.
Seek truth, my champion. Defeat the serpent of knowing with iron spur.
I've had enough of others making decisions for me, pretending to know how I should feel or behave. So the vampire who made me is some sort of disembodied entity? Or was he just projecting this vision in my mind? Maybe
Porque tampoco
Edgar.
joder con el hospital. Creo que no hay cojones aprenderse el hospital, Sí. Vale, no, vamos a volver a hablar con Swansea a ver si me comenta algo interesante.
God protect us. You've got a leech in the hospital.
Yes, my hospital. My mission is to heal while you go about warring.
You've set the table for a snake. I wonder why there's venom in your food.
I'm growing tired of your song. You're a woodsman, McCullum, not a doctor. Return to your hunt.
Remember, I've a good nose for machinations. I can flare the scent at a mile.
¿Quién es?
You can't hide from the god.
Leave him, Jonathan. This is sacred ground. Neutral territory. And I just had the carpet cleaned.
Buena excusa. Soy yo, cada vez tengo los ojos más...
So this is very bad news. Bad news indeed.
What happened?
The hospital has been attacked.
¿Cómo que han
We
atacado
have
el
injured
hospital?
patients, at least one dead and several missing. This has spiraled out of control.
He sido yo.
Even the most infirm are asking to be allowed to return home.
We cannot have the people lose faith in this institution. This hospital is their only hope.
Of course, you're right. But we cannot afford a public scandal. It would ruin us. We must restore order, and quickly.
You mentioned a dead patient. Who is he?
She, Jonathan. She was Miss Harriet Jones. I found her room like a slaughterhouse. Blood everywhere. The duty
Ah,
nurse
Harry,
was
no,
taken
a eso no me la he cargado yo.
Very well. I'll help you.
Jonathan, please. I can't rely on anyone else. And this concerns you as it involves vampires. Someone has taken advantage of our more liberal tendencies here.
In what way?
Jonathan, I may turn my head when you or her ladyship indulge, but I will not allow this place to become a nest for street feeders.
Please then, tell me.
Sean Hampton, the man we thought we'd saved at the docks. It seems he was infected after all.
So Hampton became more beast than man.
Exactly. And now Guard of Prewen suspects the hospital of vampire activity. Do you realize what that could mean for us?
Rest assured, I will protect you and your staff.
McCullum is a fanatic. The Guard will stop at nothing. You don't know what they're capable of, Jonathan.
Very well. Since I brought Mr. Hampton here, I will put an end to this.
Pon fin a la brutalidad de Sin Hampton.
Sean Hampton lives and breathes for the well-being of his flock. There's no other place he would go but the docks.
Vale, pues nos volvemos a los muelles.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
What can you tell me about the recent events in the hospital?
That Mr. Hampton killed Miss Jones in her room, then
Ah,
ran
muy
away.
bien.
And did you see all this?
No, I was working by the tents when it all happened. I only entered the room when they asked me to clean up the blood.
Where is Miss Jones's body?
I don't know. I'd imagine the morgue. It all happened.
Did you see Sean Hampton?
I think I saw a silhouette exiting the hospital gates after the shouting started. At first I thought it was someone who was just scared, but... well, maybe it was him.
Vale.
Goodbye, Nurse.
I have wasted too much energy for
Madre.
so little result.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
What can you
cuéntame.
tell me about the recent commotion in the hospital?
Everybody's afraid. Death has always been a frequent visitor. But murder? How come...
As a nurse at this hospital, it is your duty to deal with these things as best you can.
Yeah. Until it's my turn to have blood spread all over the walls. I entered the room first, Dr. Reed. I've seen what that monster did to the woman.
Goodbye.
Vale.
What on earth happened here?
Le han dado... Le han dado bien, ¿eh? ¿Estos me dirán algo de los eventos o estos pasan?
Good evening. Can you tell me anything about the recent I'm sure it was not your fault, Dr. Reed. My fault?
Oh, nothing. It's just... I heard it was you who brought the murderer inside our walls. But...
¿Tú eres tonto? La podría comer a esta. Pero no creo, ni siquiera me sale la experiencia que me puede dar.
Oh, Jonathan, I cannot believe my eyes. Poor woman, butchered by some savage scowl.
Compartimos esta comida.
Yes, and I'm afraid I'm at least partially responsible.
Jonathan.
Forgive me if I feel despondent, for there seems to be no end to the suffering and death that surround.
I'm always here for you, Jonathan.
What do you know of Ascalon? I was threatened by a creature, a vampire in Whitechapel, stating I had to obey the law of conduct.
What more can you tell me about him?
He was bigger than a man. Huge, in fact. He seemed to radiate violence. I thought he was going to tear me apart. Then he vanished.
Fergal, the executioner of Ascalon. You were fortunate he was not after you, but rather out doing his master's bidding.
What is Ascalon?
The Ascalon Club are the most powerful vampires in Britain and exert tremendous influence. Take my advice.
Okay.
I have experienced a certain difficulty when faced with holy symbols or trying to enter religious buildings. Have you?
Now that's quite a question. I don't know why, but yes.
Is this a sign? The hand of God?
I don't have the answers, Jonathan. But I believe superstition and magic is just fact awaiting the lens of science.
Aren't you?
Very little scares me, my dear. To be compelled to avoid symbols of faith does not concern me.
Have you embraced this woman? Like the other patient, this Miss...
Her name was Amelia. And no, I did not kill her. I vowed a very long time ago that I would never...
Is there sufficient vitality in the blood of this...
Yes, Jonathan. The hunger gnaws at me every waking hour.
Temptation surrounds us. Rich, vital. How can...
Over the years, any pleasure I once gleaned from feeding is long gone. I drink for sustenance. And though I still thirst for more, I...
Thank you, my lady.
Vale.
Is this supposed to be an hospital? Hey!
What can you tell me about the recent commotion?
All I know is I ain't letting anyone rip my throat out of my...
I'll leave.
Vale. Bueno, podemos ir por abajo. Porque no puedo pasar por un... ¿Estos siguen aquí? Vale, aquí hay uno. Me podría comer a Oscar. A Newton no, pero a Oscar me lo podría zampar. Cierto, ¿puedo entrar ya? Esto antes no estaba cerrado con llave. Creo. Vamos a cargarnos a Oscar, a tu amante.
Good evening.
Evening, Doc.
¿Está a tope? Está a tope porque había una pista que perdí. Así que ven
Do
con
you
papá.
need med-
No, thank.
Papá. ¿Para dónde? Ah, para atrás. ¿Es hora de cenar?
Newton, don't be sorry. We'll meet again soon.
Llave grande. Llave de gran tamaño. Probablemente sirve para acceder al refugio de Oswald
We
y
will
Newton.
be serene and
Perfecto.
beautiful.
Una pista disponible de Oscar. Newton no quiere asumir su homosexualidad. Newton y Oswald están enamorados del uno del otro. Será esta, ¿no? Vale, ahora podremos abrir la puerta esta. Guay. Aquí es donde se reventaba en el culo. Buen alijo, que tenían aquí montado. Vale. ¿Se habrá enterado ya?
Hello again, Mr.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Sí.
You and Oswald were buried alive during...
Yeah. It was last summer. A shell hit our trench and we were buried for a week.
Oswald seemed far more traumatized than you by the event.
It wasn't the first time it happened to me. Surviving it again gave me strength. You believe that?
How did you survive?
Luckily for us, there were rations and water in the tunnel. It was an outpost, see? Since then, Oswald's not keen on being inside for too long.
Vale.
Goodbye.
Bueno, vamos a donde hay que ir. Aquí a los muelles. Ha aguantado bastante. Por aquí puedo subir. Sí, ¿no? Sí. Ah, esto era un atajo. Encontrar a Simhampton. ¿Dónde estamos? Ah, estamos en los muelles. Claro, en los muelles me quedaba descubrir un montón de gente también. West End seguramente sea la última. Vale, pues muelles. Vamos a empezar a explorar con la gente.
Heartens me to know you can't see me, my sweet queen. Perhaps we should have listened to what the idiot had to say first.
¿No puedo hablar con este señor? No. Cerrado. Nada por aquí.
Good evening, miss. I am Dr. Reed. May I ask you a few...
Who are you?
As I just told you, I'm a doctor. From...
The Pembroke Hospital, you say? I ain't paying any bill left by Clay.
I'm not here to collect payment, Miss...
Miss Edwina Cox.
Anda.
So what do you want then? Fancy...
What can you tell me about...
I'm a businesswoman. I buy and sell things, and I send my wet boot boys after anyone who don't play nice with me.
Gang member and shopkeeper. Can't be easy running double...
If you're interested, I may find use of a doctor who can freely walk across the city, you know.
You're quite blunt.
I like people who know what they want and say what they think. This is a time of great opportunity for those ready to embrace their destiny.
I'm not interested in a career in the criminal underworld.
Fair enough. Stay away from us then, if you don't want to get...
Since my return from the war, I don't feel that concerned by threats, knives, or even bullets, if you must know.
That's exactly what that stupid trade unionist claimed after he attacked one of us. Booth and I reminded him a bullet beats words every time.
Booth Digby. Booth y Edwina Cox han matado hace poco a un hombre como represalia. Booth Digby. Hostia, para zamparme a Edwina 5 de nivel de cautivación.
What can you tell me about...
You can't trust anyone around here. As soon as you lower your guard, you can be sure some arsehole will take
Y Whitechapel parecía un lugar chungo.
Really?
Madre mía, con los muelles.
Don't you think that's a little bit...
Bastards, all of them. This region only responds to violence and threats.
You sound like you're thinking of somebody in particular.
Take the gravediggers of Southwark. They must pay me every week, but it looks like they forgot who gave them permission to steal from the dead.
Looting corpses in a mass grave. That is a new low.
Whatever. Hey, since you're a doctor and all, maybe you can access that forbidden area and remind those bastards what they owe.
Tell me about the man you and Booth killed, Edwina.
The bastard killed one of us and received retribution. There's nothing else to say.
What happened exactly?
I don't know, and I don't care. One of ours was killed by that communist bastard, but he didn't brag for...
So you have no idea what really happened, but you executed him anyway.
No one messes with the wet boot boys, Doctor. This is our...
And your conscience is clear. You...
Violence is an efficient tool, Dr. Reed, when used...
So you decide who lives and...
Yes, Doctor. Just like that. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm saying it's my way of dealing with troublemakers.
Joder, con la señora de Cox. No va de hostias. ¿Qué vendes?
As long as you have money.
Pues estas cosas me gustan.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm looking for Mr. Sean Hampton. Do you know where I could find him?
The sad saint?
Santo
I
penado.
heard he was mugged or something.
Yes, he was. But he left hospital.
You don't say. Well, I suppose it's good news for the homeless and the useless. Ask them, they must know something.
Goodbye.
Vale. Con este, porque... ¡Ey! Ya está. Ahora puedo hablar con él. No, antes no me salía el
Who the
prompt.
fuck
No sé.
are you? Don't you see I'm busy here?
Dr. Jonathan Reed, that's who I am. And who are you?
Ah, some fancy gentleman we've got here. Clear off. We don't want strangers
Te
on
voy
our
a
streets.
reventar un guantazo,
The name is Booth Digby. Maybe I'll ask my boys to break one or two.
Are you some kind of vigilante patrolling these...
Something like that, but the police aren't in charge.
So you're a concerned criminal, is that...
Using funny jokes about me and my boys, are you? Fuck. You must have some balls.
I saw many men like you during the war, Mr. Digby. Greedy little cockroaches who feed on despair.
I could kill you for saying that. But, nah. You've been a soldier. I can respect that.
So, tell me about your gang, then.
What? Have you got a death wish? You really want me to answer that?
Well, yes. You seem so proud of your status. Why not tell me who you're working for?
Oi! I'm the boss, all right? The Wet Boot Boys work for me. All of them. Situation round here is better than other districts because of...
Hombre, no sé de qué es el boss.
What can you tell me about this part of town?
Things ain't that bad, thanks to us. We give people what they need, and we control this borough.
Well, you're not doing a very good job. People are still dying here like everywhere else.
Yeah, well, we can't be everywhere all the time. And Edwina says if we can find more guns, we could be more...
More efficient? Really? You should probably tell Edwina that guns are useless against diseases and...
Incredible. You know what? You're lucky she can't hear you right now. She's more smart than patient. My sweet queen.
Justo está enamorado de Buena Cox, pero ella es la verdadera líder de la banda. Puede estar enamorado de Booth Digby, pero ella es la verdadera líder. Vamos, más del mundo. Vale.
Tell me about the man you killed, Booth.
One of us had been killed, so we had to retaliate. That's the whole story.
There has to be more to it than...
No, really. One of us got killed, so the killer had to die. That's how things have always been done round here. No one get...
Are you so heartless that you could pull the trigger and kill...
Have you looked around recently? Do you really think one more body will make a difference?
Do you know where I can find Sean Hampton?
Fair enough.
I need to talk to him.
The sad saint. Why on earth do you want to talk to him?
He was one of my patients at the Pembroke Hospital.
Oh, yeah. I heard the poor bastard had been abducted by some cunt. You better ask Tom Watts. He knows Sean Hampton well.
Goodbye.
Vale. ¿Hay algo para decirle a Edwina ahora?
Good evening.
Hello.
Booth Digby looks at you with love-struck eyes. Tell me, Edwina, is the feeling mute?
You have no idea how refreshing it can be for a woman to receive all the pleasure she needs. For once. What is it, Doctor? A woman's not supposed to talk...
I'm not that easily shocked, Miss Cox. You can speak freely about your lover if you so wish.
The poor bastard is good to me, if you must know. He makes me...
So you're just like any other...
Yeah, we're so ordinary that I'd put a bullet in his head if he ever cheated on me.
Edwina sospecha que Booth Digby le es infiel. Nah.
Goodbye.
Vamos a hablar con él otra vez. Ah, no, espera, por aquí es. Ahí. A ver, vamos a preguntarle. Supongo que le podemos sacar eso, ¿no? Si le es infiel. Ahí está.
Do you know Edwina suspect Edwina's the one who asked to be called Mrs. Cox, even though Clay hadn't touched her for such a long time?
You have not answered.
She's a passionate woman. I've no doubt she'll shoot me down if I ever betray her, but that's not going to happen. I love her as she is.
Goodbye.
Y ahora se habla otra vez con ella. Le puedo decir que no le es infiel. No.
Goodbye.
Bueno, ahora quiero ver si con... Uy, ¿qué ha pasado ahí? Un bolsito. Una ratita. Mucha gente que no conozco por aquí, ¿eh? ¿Será un atajo o será...? No es un atajo. Hay una escala ahí abajo. ¿A dónde estaba el charco de sangre? Ah... Buenas, ¿qué tal?
Are you all right, sir? What are you doing? I'm not sure that's any of you. I hope you realize that staying here...
Ha! I'm not afraid of these guards of Priwen, or
Eran
whatever these
Skulls, pero todo lo
call
tuyo.
themselves. I can still kick some
I wasn't specifically referring to them, but...
They took my boy! I've had no news since he joined that crazy gang. So I decided to come and find him myself.
I see. But as I said, you're...
Archer no tiene noticias de su hijo Andrew desde que este se unió a la guardia de Priwen. Perdida. ¿Cómo que perdida?
Life is at risk if you stay here.
Well, this part of town used to be... nice.
Luego. Chelines. Carta sangrienta. Querida madre, me pase lo que me pase, jamás olvidé lo mucho que la quiere tu hijo. Sé que no siempre aprobó las decisiones que tomé en mi vida, pero no pienso cambiar. Nací y crecí en esta parte de la ciudad y simplemente no puedo soportar lo que le está sucediendo a mi barrio, a la gente que conozco. Hace poco tomé una decisión terrible. Decidí hacer frente a la tiranía de unos pocos. Sé que tomarán represalias, pero estoy preparado para lo que sea. Gracias a usted siempre me ha encantado leer y ahora estoy dispuesto a pasar a la acción. No puedo evitar citar a Etienne de la Boétie. Solo los vemos muy altos porque estamos de rodillas. No pienso volver a arrodillarme, madre. Intentaré mantenerme erguido, cueste lo que cueste. Adiós, madre querida, Jack.
There is a name engraved under the blood on the back of the case.
Enid Gillingham. Aquí. El hijo de Enid, Jack, ha sido asesinado. Y todavía no hemos encontrado a Enid.
Gillingham. Maybe I should return this watch to his family.
Bueno, no hay nada más por aquí. Este sigue aquí.
Are you sure? Young man, I am...
Bueno, pues nada. Si se quiere quedar aquí, lo dejaremos estar.
This is Braille.
Texto en braille.
I need someone who can read this.
Esta misión no la voy a poder hacer. ¿Cura para qué? Oh, no, he perdido curas, tío, no me jodas. Por haberme cargado el distrito. Cura para la ceguera. Cura para la ceguera. Cura para la ceguera. ¿Dónde me estoy metiendo todo esto? Buenas tardes. Vale. Ya puedo lootear. Gracias. ¿La puerta la puedo abrir desde aquí? Oh, yes. Guay. Tenemos el atajo. ¿Qué hay ahí? Verdugo de primo.
Best turn around if I were you. Over there! There's one of them. Over there! There's one of them vermin! Get a taste of this! Oh, Christ! Murdering bastard!
¿Ya? Pero ahora no me han dado loot. Estoy explorando un poco los muelles, la verdad, pero no sé dónde me estoy metiendo. Nada aquí. Por aquí he entrado antes. He dado toda la vuelta por detrás. Vale. Carta de presentación. Hola Frank, ¿cómo estás, viejo amigo? Me encantó verte la semana pasada, pero la próxima vez déjame pagar alguna ronda. Espero que todo vaya bien por esa parte de la ciudad. Aquí en tu viejo vecindario la situación se está agravando. Clay se vuelve más y más violento cada día y solo piensa en expandirse, aunque por lo visto hay nuevos jugadores en la partida que tratan de disputarnos el territorio. Me temo que no pinta demasiado bien para los Wet Boot Boys, así que pensé en lo que dijiste cuando nos vimos, que jamás te arrepentiste de dejar la banda. Que lo único de lo que te arrepentías era de no poder volver a pisar el Stent, para evitar una buena paliza o peor. Pues bien, ten por seguro que contarás con mi protección si decides pasar por aquí algún día. A lo mejor podríamos volver a hablar de nuevas oportunidades y trabajo, ¿no? Ya sabes que siempre se me han dado bien los números, así que si necesitas un contable para tu empresa, bueno, ya lo iremos concretando, ¿de acuerdo? Ya recuerdos a tu esposa de mi parte. Larga vida a los Wet Boot Boys, amigo. Boot Digby. Hijo de puta. Boot ya ha intentado buscar un trabajo para dejar a los Wet Boot Boys. Y había chalibres, nada más. Nada más por aquí. Vale. Vamos a hablar con Boot Digby otra vez. Que nos confiese que quiere abandonar. Cuando está fumando aquí no puedo hablar con él. I don't know why. A ver, ahí tenemos el tabernero. El tabernero y un señor que no conocemos.
Not a drop of blood left in his body. This is the work of a vampire.
Vaya.
Whatever do you mean?
I'm a tracker of these creatures.
Vosotros a la vuestra.
You best be off to your
Good evening,
hunting
sir.
then.
Whatever.
Don't you recognize me? We met a few nights ago.
Don't take it personally. I spent a lot of energy forgetting what I did the night before.
Yes, you had definitely drunk too much then as well.
I'm Dyson Delaney.
Inebriation.
Yes.
Tratamiento para el agotamiento.
I will see.
A ver.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Delaney?
I drink. I drink.
Buen oficio el de borracho.
Why do you drink so much?
Maybe it's because I prefer dying slowly. Death can be so abrupt. Personally, I like to see mine coming at my own pace.
You sound very sad, sir.
That's because I am.
Don't you
I'd love to, but I don't have the time. Didn't I tell you? Drink in the morning and at noon. I drink at night.
Is there anything in particular that you...
How dare you say such a thing? I love...
No reason at all to rejoice, then? Life is hopeless and then we die, is that it?
Let me tell you a story.
Bueno.
All right.
A few years ago, when I believed a resolute man could change things around here for good, a tragedy occurred nearby.
What kind of tragedy?
It was a bomb. A bomb that exploded and killed many people. Metal and blood everywhere. Shouts, fire, broken window of the shoe shop, the torn street light.
You lost people you loved that day.
I've lost everything. But you know what the worst part is?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. If you ever find the...
Nueva investigación.
Is there anything in particular that you like about...
How dare you say such a thing? I love this neighborhood. So friendly. So joyful.
No reason at all to rejoice, then? Life is hopeless and then we die, is that it?
Let me tell you a story.
Another time.
No, gracias.
Is there anything in particular...
How dare you say such a thing?
Why are you so cynical?
Cynicism is the polite way to express despair, Doctor.
Surely you must have had dreams and expectations when you were young.
Sure. I wanted things to change. To really change. And to change for good. The bigger the dream, the harder the fall.
Sounds like you were an idealist, which is honorable.
No, sir. I was an anarchist and I believed that exclusive property is a robbery in nature. I wanted a new world to rise from the ash.
El joven Dixon era un anarquista radical convencido. Ah, me la podría zampar ya. Una basura de experiencia.
Do you really think the world is that bad?
No, I believe we all can choose to make it better. But most of us are too weak, too corrupt and too guilty. I failed for sure, but other...
Opa. Premio su juventud.
I want to know more about...
I'm still an anarchist, Doctor, make no mistake. I just reject violence as a tool to change the world, unlike my comrades.
Do you still see your comrades, then? Even if you don't agree with their methods anymore, I mean.
No. I hope they'll come to share my point of view one day. I'll raise my glass to that splendid idea.
Do you believe in a bloodless revolution, then?
I do not believe in much anymore, Doctor. But I'll admit I like your idea of peaceful change. I like it a lot.
I'm looking for Mr. Sean Hampton.
I really don't know. I heard he'd been abducted.
Who could tell me that?
About the sad saint. I try.
On what?
Goodbye.
Ah, sí, mira, tengo para craftearme uno aquí.
Good evening, Tom.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
You remember me, then?
Of course I do. You're that man who seemed so lost when...
Thank you for your hospitality.
I'm still Tom Watts.
What can you tell me about this?
It's not that bad. Thanks to people like the sad saint of the East End.
Who?
Sean Hampton, our own private holy figure. Few are foolish enough to make peace with the gangs. Sean is one.
How is it you can keep this place open? This part of town doesn't seem particularly...
Well, since everybody needs a drink, my pub is considered neutral ground by most groups.
I see. So you get pressure from all sides about how this place should be run, do you?
Well, something like that. Nothing that a few wise words and a bottle of gin can't solve.
You're something of a figurehead around here.
I'm only pouring alcohol for everyone to forget their troubles. Sean Hampton is the one giving them long-term hope.
Since I'm here, is there anything I can do?
Well, perhaps, Doctor. Peace, part...
How could a physician help you in this matter?
I have a small warehouse just past the quarantine line. Perhaps, with you being a doctor, you could go there and...
Doctors aren't immune to disease, you know. Very well.
Venga, otra
Show me
investigación
where
nueva.
it is. I'll see what I can do.
Oh, thank you, sir. Here's the key to get in. You're about to save many dry throats.
Llave del almacén. Una llave sencilla probablemente utilizada para abrir un candado o una cerradura similar. Oh, wow. Supongo que se me lo ha marcado en el mapa. Espero. No es nada.
Tom, I need to find Sean Hampton as quickly as possible. I've been told you could help me.
I heard the sad saint was recovering at Pembroke Hospital. Did he leave or something?
I believe he returned to his flock.
Oh, I bet you're right. Sean can't help but...
Please, tell me.
Well, I don't like to gossip, but I heard that the sad saint was abandoned as a baby in front of a Catholic orphanage in Dublin. That would explain his faith and need to help every...
Sin Shampton. Sin fue abandonado en un orfanato católico cuando no era más que... Ah, coño, este era el que estaba en el hospital. El que salvamos del primer skull que encontramos. El primer boss.
The important thing is I find him.
Why not try his night asylum? He takes care of those who need a meal or...
Where is it?
It's in an old warehouse, northwest of here. Just follow the bank to the west and go north when you reach the end of the pier.
Nada más. No.
Goodbye, Miss.
Vale. Ah, ya puedo hablar con la camarera por fin.
Well, I never. That's a first. Customers who make that much mess rarely come back. Never mind in fancy...
I'm much more myself than when we first met. By the way, I'm Jonathan, Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Welcome back to the Turquoise Turtle then, Doctor. I'm Sabrina Cavendish. How can I help you?
What can you tell me about this?
People don't appreciate that line of questioning round here. You best be more careful with what you say, sir.
You look concerned, Miss Cavendish.
This is a bad borough. Most people I know are afraid. Most locals will rob you blind, or worse. You best mind your step.
Sabrina cree que los muelles son un barrio peligroso y no se siente segura. Bueno, no le falta razón.
So you and your friends all feel in danger?
Tom's the only exception I've come across until now. But he's not like...
This place seems, how shall I put it, very colorful. I'm
Sí.
sure it has plenty of stories.
We get people of all sorts here. It's that rare place in the docks where you can have a drink without being murdered. At least it's not happened yet.
So this bar is neutral territory then?
Yeah. Tom's convinced this is something the locals...
Your boss must be quite the negotiator to force such an agreement.
Yeah. Tom's a great bloke. Mr. Hampton, who runs the night asylum, he's the only other man that's able to keep people...
Excuse my curiosity, but where exactly are you from, Miss Cavendish?
Something bothering you? What, my name?
Believe me, I never judge someone on their place of birth or the color of...
If that's true, you'd be one of the few not to make fun of me. Just you, Tom, Dyson, Miss Fishburne, and of course Mr. Hampton.
I'm sorry if I worried you. I was just curious to find out if you know this part of town well.
Nosy. My dad was a sailor from Bombay, and my mum was a maid born up in Glasgow. They got married in London. And here I am.
Do you require medical assistance, Miss...
I'm fine, sir.
Ya está.
Excuse my curiosity.
Something bothering you?
I'm...
Nose.
Se había quedado como bugueado el de dónde es usted. Ahora. Vale.
Miss Cavendish, would you be willing to help me locate...
You better ask Tom, sir.
Why not answer me?
We respect the privacy of our customers here, sir. Only Tom can decide who to speak to and what he'll say.
Vale.
Goodbye, Miss Cavendish.
Ok.
So few clients. What with the epidemic, no one dares go outside.
Are they stupid or something?
¿Arriba hay alguien? No. A ver, ¿este quién es?
Good evening, sir. Have you witnessed any suspicious activity or strange events recently?
And what do you define as a strange event? More to the point.
My name is Ichabod Throgmorton, vampire hunter extraordinaire and warden of the East End.
A vampire hunter?
Vaya, tienes un...
I know what you're thinking. I'm just another lunatic howling at the moon, but I'm not. The bloodsuckers exist.
Tienes el sentido un poco atrofiado, ¿eh?
They're close.
Mr. Throgmorton, I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'd like to hear more about these vampires.
A man of science.
What can you tell me about this neighborhood?
Did you hear about what happened to Jack Gillingham? Oh boy. It's a shame I wasn't around to protect.
It's impossible to protect everyone. The violence seems endemic in this part of...
But it's my duty. I am convinced Jack Gillingham was killed by a vampire. These evil rodents are spreading like a plague.
No tiene una gota de sangre el cadáver. Pablo cree que Jack Gillingham ha sido asesinado por vampiros. ¿Cierto? ¿No?
So, how exactly are you protecting these people? I'm curious.
I patrol late at night, investigating anything unusual. I try and encourage people to stay indoors, but people are careless.
Can I help in any way?
Actually, yes. I plan to put up posters to alert the
wow.
population to the vampire threat.
Vamos a poner carteles, que seguro que son útiles.
Paste posters about vampires.
If you wouldn't mind. If you...
¿En serio?
How
¿Una
do
puta
you
investigación de eso?
identify a vampire?
It's simple, really. They can't stand daylight. They're afraid of garlic and holy symbols. They also cannot enter a house without being invited.
Have you ever killed one of these creatures? Yourself, I mean.
Of course I have. What kind of question is that?
Vaya parguela. Vaya parguela el cabot este. Tontísimo, ¿no? Es tontísimo, tío.
Have you heard of the Guard of Prewan?
Of course. They're dead.
Bueno, especializados.
Were you ever tempted to join the Guard yourself?
I did think about it, but I'm more of a silent hunter.
So you hunt alone? That sounds risky.
Vampires are just like every other predator. They hunt when they're hungry and follow certain patterns. It's just a matter of observation and patience.
I'm looking for Sean Hampton.
The sad saint? He should be at his night asylum at this hour. But I cannot tell you how to find it, sorry.
Really? Why?
It's nothing personal, Doctor. I'm sure your intentions are good, but people who sleep there... they have...
I could make you tell me, but I respect your refusal.
Quiero obligarlo.
You really believe Sean is a saint?
All I will say is this. Gossip has it that when he was a child, he was molested. By a priest of all people. Funny thing is, though, it only...
El sacerdote abusó de Sin cuando era niño. Y se convirtió él en otro. Buena. 6000 puntos. Es el pilar. Ah, es el pilar. Oh.
Maybe at least you can tell me...
Tell you what, go and chat with Tom Watts. He's a bar...
Ya he hablado con él. Y ya me ha dicho dónde está realmente. Vale. Medios occidentales. Aquí habrá más gente, seguramente. Vale, vamos a hacer las... Bueno, vamos a ir a dormir primero. Tenemos aquí... Aquí arriba, ¿no? Correcto. A ver, cansancio era, ¿no? Creo que era agotamiento, sin más. Vamos a dárselo antes de ir a dormir. Agotamiento, sí.
Good evening. What?
Toma.
Inebriation. Yes. Take this.
Chútatelo.
Goodbye.
Vamos a subir de nivel, que tenemos 2000 puntitos. Ay, no sé si subirme el ataque este. Ira. El torbellino. Caldero de sangre. ¿Cómo me voy a subir ira? Un poco más de daño. Voy a subir el daño del ataque este. Ah, no me basta, son 2000. Estos 2000 también. Oye, un movimiento sobrenatural sobre el objetivo infligiendo daño al aterrizar. Sombrío. Esto que me hace invisible. Cambiar. Utilizas tu energía para desaparecer entre las sombras y volverte invisible para la mayoría de enemigos. Si te mueves en este estado consumirás más energía. Saldrás de las sombras al atacar o esquivar un golpe. O bien si se agota tu energía. Vale. Voy a llevar más sueros. Vamos a aumentarnos el... Incluso la sangre nos podemos aumentar. Vamos a aumentarnos el número de sueros. Podría estar bien. Ah, no, son 1000. No lo he puesto. Cinco suelos podemos llevar. A dormir. A ver, distrito. Vale, se mantiene estable. Este. Casi entra en grave, ¿eh? Aparecido. Aparecido, pero no muerto. Sigue bajando. Vale, era de esperar. Y este no varía. Aparecido. Este tiene cefalea ahora. Y aquí... No hemos encontrado a Enid todavía, es la única. Vale. Voy a craftearme unos cuantos suelos más. Apenas los uso, pero bueno. ¿Puedo mejorar el arma? La empuñadura eficaz. No sé dónde sacar eso. Vale. Tenemos investigaciones, ¿no? Unas cuantas. ¿Qué hay que hacer con el reloj de Jack Gillingham? Llevárselo a un familiar, véndeselo a alguien. Preséntate ante los sepultureros, coge algunos carteles del montón. Recuperar las botellas de ginebra del arijo de Tom Watts. Y localiza donde tuvo lugar el bombardeo. Vamos a hacer esta. Esta me interesa más. Hay un par de eventos por aquí, pero claro. Coño, Southwark. ¿La zona? Vale. No me había fijado en esa zona. Propaganda. Archer Woodford. ¿Quién es?
Andrew, what have you...
Good evening, sir. I'm amazed you made
Ah,
it
este es el
back
que
to
me
the
encontré allí.
Well, I
En
could say
el
the same
callejón de la
about you,
puerta.
young man. More to the point, who the hell are you?
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed.
And I am Archer Woodbead. Please excuse my assertiveness. I often forget I'm just an old prune.
What can you tell me about this part of town?
People used to feel safe around here. They had the gang.
¿Está sano? Sí.
Missing the good old days, are you?
Trust me, son. The longer you live, the less meaning your existence will have. You need to remember the days you still had beliefs.
And what about the gang?
Back in my day, people trusted the wet boot boys. We looked out for the docks and its families. Nowadays, they're just a bunch of greedy fuckers.
You were a gang member.
I was there.
Archer no tiene noticias de Andrew desde que este se unió a la guardia de Priwen. Archer solía liderar a los Wet Boot Boys cuando se trataba de una banda respetable.
Leader for a time, believe it or not. Now these bastards act like I'm nothing. Not one of them. They owe me some damn...
If you were such a respected figure, surely you have many interesting stories about this part of town.
You bet I do, but make no mistake. I'm not...
Do you still know anyone? From the old days, I mean.
Most of them are dead. I still give Miss Gillingham salutations. She doesn't remember me. She did once like me. Boy, she was a beauty back then.
Any remarkable...
Nobody. Well, there's that boy Rufus the Cursed.
Rufus, el maldito.
I like him, despite the reputation he's made since he's...
I'm sure a district as colourful as the docks must have plenty of...
So, you want me to talk about the...
If you don't mind.
The sewer dog is a bitch. Appropriately...
Who would you trust around here?
The owner of the Turquoise Turtle's a decent fella. Tom's his name. Sean Hampton's all right too. Don't particularly share his religious views. He's quite devout, if you catch my meaning.
Have you always been so bitter?
It's not bitterness, it's poorly masked disgust. When everything turns to shit, we all have to eat a spoon or...
With everything that's happened recently, the war...
A few nights ago, I saw a kid eating a rat. He was right in front of one of those abandoned houses nearby. Just chewing on a living...
Tell me about the Wet Boot Boys, Archer.
We were there for the families and each other. It was us against the world. We were vicious, tough, even cruel. But we were united.
You sound like you were some kind of radical union member.
Yes, nowadays the communists and gangs squabble over pointless territory. Sounds stupid when you say it out loud.
Tell me everything you know about the Guard of...
Andrew never told me what they do. I do know they're vigilantes with military training. Access to some...
And what is your personal opinion?
This Guard of Priwen is just another gang preying on the young and naive. Preying on people like my boy. I know how it works.
Archer culpa a la guardia de Priven de la desaparición de su hijo.
Why did your son really join the Guard of Priwen?
If I believed in a higher power, I'd see this as punishment for my own sins. I deserve it for...
You don't believe in God, though, do you, Mr. Woodbead?
Now I think about it, Andrew joined the Guard, not to defy me, but to follow in my footsteps, to make...
So your son has left you nothing to explain?
Not even a note. I'm a proud man, Doctor.
I'm looking for a man named Sean Hampton.
The sad saint. Even when he was young, his faith and dedication were inspiring. A beacon even, if I may say so.
Interesting. But have you spoken?
I spoke with him about my missing son a few days ago. I've not seen him since he was attacked by some drunkard and left the vicinity.
Goodbye.
Vale. Voy a cruzar por aquí.
I cannot enter.
Oh, ¿este quién es?
Hello, boy.
Hello.
Did I scare you? You have nothing to...
No, it's just that...
Well, I won't.
Este es Rufus,
I'm a
el
doctor.
maldito.
My name is Rufus, sir. Rufus...
What can you tell me about this region?
It's all about staying out of trouble. But since most people prefer to avoid me, it's pretty easy.
Why do people avoid you?
They call me Rufus the Curse. Around here, I'm a bit of a bad luck charm.
Pobrecillo.
Have you ever thought about...
Where else would I go? At least I know these streets and some...
¿Está sano? Tiene anemia.
What do you do around?
I listen to the news on the docks, sir. And I smile at those kind enough to spare me a bob.
Do you have a job?
It's hard to work, what with my head and all. Since I was a boy, I've always had trouble remembering what I do and why I do it.
What do people say about...
Things have been tense between the wet boot boys and the communists. They both feel they should run the docks.
Vale.
Are you alone?
I don't have it.
So you have no home?
No. I mean, yes. I live...
This city has abandoned so many of its...
I've known worse. I'm not all alone. I have Mrs. Fishburne. She's been very kind to me.
Why do you think she's so considerate?
I can't say, sir. I guess she's a good son.
Stella Fishburne. Stella es como una madre para Rufus Kingsbury. Rufus ve a Stella Fishburne como una madre. Bueno, vale. Okay. No podría zampar si quisiera. Pero me da penita, vamos a dejarlo.
Do you know a man who lives in this part of town? A man named...
Sorry, sir. I don't know a lot of folks around.
Well, I don't think you should talk to him. He may be very...
Thanks for the tip. You might want to check the Turquoise Turtle. It's a pub not far from here. The bar...
So long.
Hey.
Hypocrites all of them. Maggots and liars.
Aquí. Vale. Para bajar, supongo.
Don't you think Miss Fishburne is nice to us? But I always have the feeling she's hiding something. For now, you're still the only real friend I have, Jack.
Oh. Rufus tiene una rata como su única amistad. Pobrecillo, tío. Que me da pena comérmelo. Aquí está Stella Fishburne. ¿Este quién es?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Why must it always...
I was just being polite. I'm Dr. Reed. I'd like to ask you some questions, if I may.
Don't like questions. Or doctors. And the name is Seymour Fishburne, if you must know.
What can you tell me about this part of town?
A shithole filled with maggots. Liars and thieves, all of them.
Are you thinking about someone in particular?
No. Hate them all. Especially these petty, whining little shitbag beggars.
Is there no one who deserves your...
Well, Tom from our local is somewhat of a decent bloke. At
Joder,
least
todo el
unlike
mundo ama a
most
Tom,
maggots,
el
he
del
knows
bar.
how to listen without opening his trap.
What's your occupation?
I take care of my mum. It's what I do. She's the only good thing in my life. Even though I don't...
You seem upset.
I lost the necklace I bought her. I'm a fucking idiot.
Sometimes it's hard to be a good...
I just wanted to smile. No, I was thankful for her patience, appreciated like... God knows...
No puedo hacer ninguna pregunta personal.
Any chance you can help me find Sean Hampton?
The sad saint. Why would you talk to that cunt?
Actually...
Really? Well, go ask someone else then. I'm sure Tom Watts will gladly answer.
Goodbye.
Ah, vale.
Evening, Rufus.
Evening, Mr.
How come you consider it your only friend?
I found Jack when he was a baby, alone amongst dead.
Like you and your...
When I was 8, my parents died in a car accident. Rumour says I didn't get a scratch.
Los padres de Rufus murieron cuando él era un niño.
You don't remember the...
No. I was little back then. It's been a blurry mess and very quiet in my head ever since.
How have you survived?
I don't have any family left, really. Except for...
So long.
Esto era Fishburne.
Good evening, madam.
Why?
I work at the Pembroke Hospital. I'm investigating the flu epidemic in this area.
Oh, the Spanish flu. Well, that's quite liberal of you, Doctor. But this is no time to be knocking at people's doors.
The disease takes away the good people too, madam. Why not let me in?
It's Mrs. Fishburne. Stella Fishburne. And yes, indeed. Why not let a doctor in?
Venga, para adentro. Vamos a saquearle la casa antes que nada.
Gentlemen are easy targets.
It's locked.
Está cerrada, solo que si la mato consigo la llave. Oh. Y... ¿Estamos? Y aquí. Vale, ahora podemos hablar con ella. Después de haber saboteado ella, saboteado no, saqueado toda la casa.
So you have questions about the flu then?
Yes.
Forgive my rudeness at the door. It's just my son doesn't like strangers coming in the house.
No pasa nada. Me la podría comer, pero no me la voy a comer.
How is life around?
Life has always been hard in the East End. But it's everywhere nowadays, isn't it?
Do you think the increase in violence has anything to do with the epidemic?
Don't know. But it's most likely linked to the gangs, if you ask me. Recently, it's like everyone has had to pick a side.
Violence has always fed on poverty, don't you think? It's a cruel law of the human condition.
And selfishness is their rotten fruit. These days, you can just die in the gutter and no one will bat an eye.
May I ask what you do for a living, Mrs.
Since my husband died, I worked at the Dawson Rope factory, but it closed before the war. I occasionally help at the night asylum, in exchange for food.
Did your husband die?
Oh no, my Jack was a docker. He died when my Seymour was just a lad. The poor boy saw his dad slip and fall from that scaffolding.
How do you pay the rent, then?
My Seymour works at the docks, just like his dad. He's very attached to the house he grew up in. It's not always easy, but we get by all right.
The orphan that regards you as a mother, please...
You mean Rufus? I wish I could do even more for the poor boy. Most people are so selfish.
But you're not.
Years may have passed, but I haven't forgotten how it feels to go through days with nothing but an empty stomach.
Notas personales, nada. ¿Está enferma? No, está sana.
I'm trying to locate Mr. Sean Hampton.
You talking about the one everyone calls the sad saint? The man who takes care of the homeless?
The very same, Miss...
I'm sorry. I don't know where his shelter is. But if you ask around, I'm sure you...
Goodbye, Miss Fish.
Gracias, Estela. Nos vemos. Mira, como solo que me da la llave del armario. Pero no me la quiero comer, tío. No de momento. Vale, este tiene anemia. Este tiene un resfriado. Vale, sí, es por aquí. Pongo. No. Porque se ha entrado en combate. Vale, hay que cruzar esto. Hay que cruzar el puente, mejor dicho. Y que hacia arriba, no hacia abajo. Vale, hemos llegado. Southwark. Localizo donde tuvo lugar el bombardeo. Me la ocurrió aquí, pero... voy. Ah, hace daño en un área en concreto. Vale, vale, vale. ¿También ha matado a este? Hostias. El área es enorme entonces. Aquí es donde empiezas, ¿eh? Aquí empiezas. No, aquí llegas al principio, mejor dicho.
It's locked, all right. It's locked, all right.
Hay que buscar donde tuvo lugar el bombardeo, pero... claro. Vamos con él. Para ponerlo... Vale, los que están enfermos de esta zona, ¿qué tienen? Resfriado, anemia... No sabemos porque no hemos hablado aún. Cefalea... Sí. Vale. Resfriado... Ya uno con anemia... Y cefalea, ¿no? Neumonía creo que no había ninguno. Anemia. está enferma, pero no sabemos de qué porque no la hemos encontrado aún. No hemos hablado con ella. Y este tenía cefalea. Este distrito está en la puta y este distrito no lo hemos descubierto. Vale. Nada más por aquí. Right. Buenas.
I have this thirst for blood.
Ah, podría haber pasado por aquí y me de ir por dentro. Vale. Esto sí que ha sido un atajo. Oh, la crujida. Aquí brillando. Ramo de flores. Un humilde ramo de flores blancas.
Yes. The place has changed since the explosion, but it was definitely here. I should find some way to
en el lugar de la explosión. Ah, era aquí.
May all who suffered from this tragedy find all rest.
La condición de Delaney sobre el bombardeo. Vale. Esta zona es del inicio, ¿eh? ¿Era para abrirla? Sí. Ah, pero no es un atajo esto. Buenas. ¿Qué te amo? Me duele de la tío corriendo. Ah, he dado la vuelta. Bueno, hay que volver ya, así que da igual. No creo que por aquí haya nadie más para hablar. Vamos a volver. Voy a mirar las otras investigaciones. Mira, a ver si esta está en esta zona. Que encuentra el collar perdido de Seymour Fishburne. Bueno, en combate por las racas. Quiero pensar. No tiene sentido.
I have this thirst for blood.
Vale, estamos en la zona donde debería estar el collar. Donde podría.
This is a slaughterhouse.
Collar ensangrentado de Seymour para mi querida madre Estela.
From Seymour to my beloved mother Stella. Fishburne, that sneaky bastard.
Vale, pues ya está, ya hemos encontrado otro Devuelve el collar a Seymour o dáselo a su madre. Lo dará a la madre. Vale. Pues collar hecho. Hecho. Recuperar las botellas. A ver, ¿esto dónde es? Es en el otro lado. Ahí aún no hemos ido, así que vamos de eso. Algunos carteles del montón. Vale, nada. Siéntate ante los sepultureros. Anda. Eso sí queda por aquí. No. En el otro lado lo de los sepultureros también está. Cada vez que entro aquí se pone en combate. No sé por qué. Soy un normal, acabo de volver. Vale. Voy a presentarse ante los sepultureros. Por aquí, ¿no? Vale, hay que cruzar todo esto. Esto es full zona de inicio, ¿eh?
Rain may have washed away the blood, but not the memory.
Aquí empiezas. Nota de advertencia. Hola muchachos, respecto a vuestro último mensaje sobre la misión de saquear cadáveres en software, solo lo diré una vez. Hacedlo y punto. Y dad gracias por que no le envíe vuestras quejas a Advina. No tardaría mucho en ir hasta allí a poneros en vuestro sitio. Además, un pajarito me ha contado que habéis estado bromeando sobre lo que viene en el embarcadero. Así pues, no soy más que un lunático que se asusta de su propia sombra, un chiflado que murmura y tiembla como una ancianita con cuentos de fantasmas. Bien, me encanta que mis muchachos se diviertan, pero tened por seguro que este chiflado se meará en vuestros malditos cuerpos cuando esa bestia que vi os sorba el cerebro. Disfrutad de las noches venideras, compañeros, pues he oído que serán lluviosas y nubladas. Buf, vaya. No, lo que quiero ver es... Bueno. Decide qué información dar a Advina Cox. Informa de la muerte de los profanadores de tumbas o ocultar la verdad.
This is my watch. Damn grave robbers.
El voz de Jonathan. ¿No lo puedo abrir? No. Vale. ¿Alguna otra misión que sea también por aquí? ¿Esta? No. Y esta simplemente es entregar. Ay, aquí fue donde empiezas y donde matas a tu hermano. He dado la vuelta, ¿no? Sí. ¿Qué diferencia hay entre ocultar la verdad o decírselo? Es que no... Me habían robado el reloj, los hijos de puta. Bueno, combate por las ratas, en serio. Están por aquí, ¿no? Seymour. Bueno, ya que estoy te voy a dar la cura para el resfriado.
Good evening.
Yeah.
El regalo y los cuerpos.
Do you require... I don't know which kind of doctor you're used to dealing with, but it's a doctor's purpose to...
And is it your purpose?
¿Qué hago? ¿Se lo doy a él o se lo doy a la madre?
Goodbye.
Este tiene anemia.
Evening. Do you need help? So long. Good evening. I have retrieved the gift for...
Great. Give it.
I also found the corpses. The ones under which you left them.
Ah, so that's where I left it. I can't be...
Seymour es un asesino reincidente.
Have you no remorse? You don't...
I have many weaknesses, Dr. Reed, but lying about who I am ain't one of them.
You're not a mindless animal, Seymour. Surely you have something to say about these murders. Speak up.
Could be right, Dr. Reed. Maybe it'll do some good to confide in a gentleman like you. You being it.
Tell me about your victims, Seymour. Who were they?
Why should there be? They just kept getting on my nerves at the worst times, that's all.
Anda. Joder, si tuviera yo que matar a cada uno que me toca las narices y me pone nervioso.
How many?
It's not like I keep records.
You feel nothing, do you? No empathy for your victim?
You seem pretty calm yourself, don't you?
We're not talking about...
That right? Well, our calm's the only...
Did you take pleasure in killing them, Seymour? All those people...
I take no pleasure from it. Just gives me peace.
This rage you feel, have you ever been able to control it? Resist it?
I tried. For my mum, I tried for her. Telling the truth made me feel better. For a while.
Es de la Fishburne. Él parece ser capaz de contener la agresividad de su hijo Seymour. La agresividad de Seymour parece ser contenida por su madre.
Don't you think you should seek help? Talk to someone...
No. And don't dare speak about me to your colleagues either. Keep your mouth shut tight.
Why is your mother...
I'm her son. She's the only one who knows me. Sometimes I think she knows me better than I know myself.
I understand you love her. But can't you see the awful situation you...
Do you think my mum would have a better life if I were dead? She seems so sad to know me sometimes.
I don't believe death is the appropriate sentence.
There is no law around here. No justice.
Error de pista. Me cago en mi puta vida. ¿Por qué? Nada más, ¿no?
Goodbye.
Y ahora se lo puedo contar a Rufus.
Evening.
No.
So long.
Pero a la madre seguro que sí.
Good evening.
I can't remember the last time I had a good sleep. I've been nothing but worry. What can I do for...
Your son's gone way beyond simply bullying people. He has a taste for blood, and you know it, don't you, Stella?
One night, he told me straight up, in his own words. It was several days after one of his episode.
Why did he confess? Did you suspect something?
No. I guess he wanted his own.
Did Seymour tell you everything that night?
More than I could stand. The words he used to describe his hate, his rage.
Stella, I know you are ashamed of your son's crimes.
I can't report my own son, can I? Not a burden I could bear.
Burden?
They'd hang him for sure. I won't send my only son to his death.
I'm convinced you raised Seymour the best you could. You're not responsible for what he became.
If someone ever found the courage to speak to the police, I will take my share.
Tell me about these demons, Seymour.
Seymour used to be such a happy child. And he is still a helping son most of the time. But when he gets angry, he can hardly contain his rage.
All men and women are born innocent, Mrs. Fishburne. But there can be a monster within any...
Do you think he can be cured, Doctor? Do you think something can extinguish this rage in some...
Science has only just begun to investigate the mysteries of the human mind. Currently, we have more assumptions than...
There ain't no hope, then. Somehow, somewhere, my son has turned into a monster.
Goodbye.
Vale. Bueno. Ya veremos lo que hago. De momento los dejaré vivos. Decide qué información dar a Edwina Cox. Informar de la muerte de los profanadores de tumbas o ocultar la verdad. Voy a buscar a Edwina. Estaba por aquí, ¿no? No. Estoy alejando. Ya por aquí. Archer. Este es el... Ah, no, este es el viejo. Nada que decirle, ¿no?
Good evening. Good.
Era un ex miembro de los Boys. Sabrina. ¿Dónde está Edwina? Ahí, Edwina Cox. Y ahí está el otro.
Good evening, Miss Cox.
Hello again, Dr. Reed.
Tell me your feelings about Booth's belief in monsters.
It makes him look weak in front of the boys. That's my feeling about it. But ghosts don't scare me.
You don't believe?
I don't care what he saw or not. All I know is that a real man keeps his fears to himself if he wants to be a...
Mira, este ya tenemos a full. Pina no confía en el liderazgo de Booth Digby dada su superstición. Ya están los dos a tope, ya todas las pistas. Bye.
I managed to reach the mass grave in Southwark. It was not pleasant.
Spare me the details, Dr. Reed. All I want to know is what happened to those bastards who owed...
I'm afraid those bastards, as you call them, are in the mass grave.
Dead? Shit. That money would have been useful. Well, I'll tell my boys to avoid the place if it...
Yes.
Okay then, Doctor. It looks like you deserve your reward after all. The Wet Boot Boys thank you for your help.
Cuenta, chévere.
Can I see what...
As long as...
No vende nada que me interese. Cuando está aquí no puedo hablar con él, tío. Voy a hablar con el borracho, que hemos puesto ya la... Bueno, hemos dejado la flor en la tumba.
Good evening. What? I found the location of the explosion, Mr. Delaney. I placed a flower for you where it happened. Just...
Really? That's so kind. I never thought someone would... Well, thank you, Doctor.
It's nothing, really.
What? No, I didn't know them. No car was supposed to park there that day. Stupid bastard, why did...
You're the man who hid that bomb.
Vaya. Jason es el responsable de un ataque bomba que acabó con la vida de varias personas por error.
I don't want to talk about it.
¿Cómo que no quieres hablar de ello? Ven aquí.
I want you to remember the bomb, Dyson. Tell me about it.
No, I don't.
Tarde.
Why use a bomb?
The Dawson & Dawson ammunitions factory. A symbol of violence.
The victims.
I spent so much time figuring out the perfect moment.
No, Dyson, they didn't all die. I met a boy...
I never heard of an injury.
Not a scratch on him. I suspect he wasn't in the car when it exploded.
In the car?
Yes, Dyson.
Why tell me this?
I don't know. Perhaps one day...
Who is that boy? How can I find...
That's easy. Most of the time, he's in the...
O sea, que Dyson mató a los padres de Rufus.
I sense your guilt, Dyson. Why is that? Did you not think violence was an accept?
I still believe our fight was just. By killing an innocent couple who were just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
You made a mistake.
I swear I did not want to kill anyone. I did not hide in the shadow to kill on purpose. That's my...
Con la puta.
Goodbye.
Vale, vamos a buscar a Rufus. Lo podremos contar. Que mató a sus padres.
Evening.
Evening.
No.
Do you know...
So,
well,
thanks for...
Vale. ¿Y esto dónde? Vale, es todo esto por aquí. Vale, pues nada. Vamos a seguir con la misión principal. Occidentales. Jimmy Barlow.
Seems like the guard of Crewen is on Sean Hampton's trail too.
Holy shit.
Burn it, boys! Die, vermin!
Te tengo dicho de tirarme fuego. Para ver un corriente. Pipa.
The wounds on this corpse are deep. The result of rabid rage. If this is Sean's doing, he's become a murderous beast.
Vaya. El rastro de sangre termina aquí. Aquí no hay nada. Ok. No puedo subir tampoco, ni... No. Hay que ir por fuera. Supondré que sí.
This is despicable.
rata. Ahí.
I have this thirst for blood. I can't believe I'm doing this. I cannot enter.
¿Cómo pasa entonces? Aquí. Claro, pero esto me lleva... Igual podía bajar por el... hacia el muelle, no me he fijado. Bueno, tengo que ir por aquí por cojones, ¿no? Hola. Se ha caído el pringao. Se ha olvidado de mí ya. Bueno. Skulls. Están pegando con Skulls ahí al fondo.
This poor man has just been slaughtered by a vampire. The body's still warm.
We've got one of them.
Pues ya estaría. Vale, ahora por aquí podríamos subir. Vamos a ver si hay algo más interesante por aquí. Podamos lootear. Vale, estaría bien abrir el atajo. A dormir. Vale. No puedo subir. Ahí. Hay mucho guardia, tío. Buenas. Ha muerto. ¿Me das tu loot? Jonathan, hermano, guarda la... ¿Te sale? Bien, grandullón. ¡Wow! Una zona de descanso esto. Sí, pero no se debe poder abrir desde fuera. Nada más.
Burn it, boys! I'll kill you!
Locura. No, no me seas mentiroso, ¿eh? Está feo decir mentiras. Por culo, tío.
Cannot be defeated! We have to stop it!
Ya. Sobre el cazavampiros, ¿no?
Dr. Reed, can I be of any assistance?
Este por aquí.
Goodbye.
Es un atajo, ¿verdad? Oh. Maravilla. Vale. Cartel antivampiro. Ah, vale. Hemos cogido los carteles.
It's locked, all right.
Está cerrado todo, güey. Aquí hay dos señoras que no conocíamos. Vale. Esto es una zona neutral, digamos. Que llena peces tranquilamente. Me hace gracia que solo pueden salir dos objetos a la vez de lo que voy looteando, ¿sabes? Como que no, ¿qué dices? Pilla un montón de objetos, te los voy a ir mostrando de dos en dos. Y ya está. No te pases.
It's locked.
Cerrado. También está cerrada. Nada más para mí. Coño, Sin. ¿Qué pasa?
Why the long face, Doctor?
¡Hostias!
It looks like we both have changed a lot. I must confess it.
Put your faith in the Lord, Doctor.
Since you left Pembroke, the amount of blood that has been
Puto vampiro,
shed
pero
is
miraré la
hard to
cara.
believe.
Ask what you will. As the Lord is...
Aren't you afraid of what you've become?
We are blessed, Doctor. Can't you see it? The Lord has made us able to walk amongst the plague and aid those that need it.
Do you think this is a blessing when God's own house and holy symbols repel you?
If that is your burden, Doctor, so be it. But I do not fear the cross, nor am I forced to take the life of another. My kind doesn't share your
But you must drink blood now to...
No, not your scripture. Whoso eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood hath eternal life, and I will raise him up at the...
Why return?
This is my home. These people are my flock. You will always find me where I am needed.
Wonders never cease. Scal managing...
And what of you? A vampire doctor? Meals laid out before you. Yet you were...
And what about William Bishop? He...
Alas, poor William. He had a good soul, but was weak in...
Why did you kill Miss Jones at the Pembroke Hospital?
Killed old Harriet? You must be mad, Doctor. Why would I do such a thing?
So you claim Miss Jones' death was not by your hand, nor the other incidents?
Though Harriet was an angry, spiteful woman, she was one of God's creatures. I have nothing but love for all he has made.
But you were close to her.
Of course. But she was lost, separated from the fold. She did not see the hand of the divine in my blessed condition.
People have been murdered. I've seen the blood.
Have a little faith, Doctor. If you will follow, I will guide you to the light. Take this key of the old sewers. The end.
Me lleva robusta con una etiqueta, alcantarillado del East End, acceso restringido, solo personal autorizado.
I have to see for myself. But your sense of purpose and calm gives me some relief.
I'll be here when you return. If you still think I'm a threat then, well, I'll surrender myself to...
No está muy lejos. Por aquí. Desconocido. ¿Tú quién eres? Debe ser a uno de los que les puedo entregar el reloj o venderlo, ¿no?
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed.
Rest assured, I will help you, sir.
Martin
Nightingale, at your service. Please.
Your merchandise. I don't really see anything worth having. No offense.
None taken, sir. But please.
Encontrado este reloj.
Let me be frank. You're as much of a businessman as...
Who the hell are you to question me? It's hard enough to stay clean when you don't have a place to sleep.
I meant no offense, Mr. Nightingale. I was merely pointing out the fact that you're unlikely to survive long if you continue what...
And what should I do then, sir? Should I join the Wet Boot Boys like so many others? No thanks. I'd rather be a bad seller than a dead gang member.
Martin prefirió ser un mercader de poca monta en lugar de pertenecer a una banda. Elite.
What can you tell me about the neighborhood? Have you got any...
Not really. Miss Gillingham smiles and says kind words, but I know she's lost her marbles, especially since her son died.
Tell me about this crazy woman. Madness is often mistaken for other...
The poor woman's mad, all right. Kind and all, but she has so much...
Ned confunde a veces a su hijo Jack con Martin Nightingale.
How interesting. I don't suppose you...
Jack! Rumour has it he tried to tackle some gang lads. I didn't know him well, but I heard he was a nice enough chap. His old ma still thinks he's around.
Why not try seeking help instead of peddling your wares? I'm sure there are people around here that...
There's always the night asylum. I heard it's run by a very nice man.
There is no shame in asking for help, my boy. Sometimes it can even be the best course of action.
I don't feel okay with that. I'm gonna make a name for myself, and I'll do it by myself.
Goodbye.
Vale, de momento no le vamos a dar el reloj. Porque aquí dentro tenemos a la señora.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed.
I already took my medication,
I'm sorry. Your
Don't tease me like that, Jack. Sorry, what?
I think I should come in, miss.
An epidemic, you say?
Vale. al saqueo. Vamos a lootearle toda la puta casa.
It's locked.
Vale.
So, Dr. Tippett, what?
I told you my name is Jonathan Reed.
Of course I do. I remember my name too. Gillingham. But you may call me Enid, Doctor.
What can you tell me about this part of...
Oh no, I don't gossip. That would be most unbecoming of a lady such as myself.
Hostia, está zumbada, ¿eh?
Who are the more influential figures on the docks?
Well, I heard about some terrible illness going around. I would say in that case that it's you, Dr. Tippett.
Is anyone taking care of you?
My son is always here to take care of me.
Enid, have you really no idea what happened to you?
I've not seen Jack for so long.
Jack is dead, Miss...
Of course he's not.
I found this watch. It was a...
Oh, I remember. Yes,
Trinkets and possessions help us remember our past. Promise me you'll not lose it.
I would never lose anything that belonged to Jack.
Let's open this.
Goodbye.
Zumbada, zumbada, ¿eh?
If not, I'll find you something.
Good evening.
There's no...
Show me what you have.
Me vendes. Vale. A ver qué más investigaciones tenemos. Me quedan dos. Quemar los carteles o pegarse con carteles en las calles. Recuperar botellas de ginebra. Esta sería la de quemar los carteles. Vamos a pegarlos. Dale un cable. ¿Dónde hay esto? Vale, aquí podemos pegar uno. ¿Y esto? Ah, ya había entrado por aquí, me había dejado aquel cartucho de eso.
Informing London's inhabitants of the presence of vampires. What does that make me? A double or a triple agent?
Oh, puta. Y...
Done. Mr. Throgmorton should be happy.
Seguro que sí.
I can't protect the whole city.
Está aquí, ¿no? Es
It's hard enough to...
Good evening. I put up your public service announcement. Consider the common folk warned about the vampire.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. You may not realize it, but you saved a great many lives today.
Do you really think?
See the sad saint of the East End? How a single man can help so many people? I consider myself the discreet protector of these men.
Creo que Jack Gillingham ha sido asesinado por Vano. Considera a sí mismo protector del refugio nocturno de Southampton.
Tell me, Ichabod, Why do you consider yourself the protector?
He is a truly inspiring example. Dedicated, pious. His shelter is open to all, whoever they are.
Nada más.
Goodbye.
Vale, pues nos queda nada más que una investigación, recuperar las botellas de ginebra. Y eso está ahí. Aquí arriba. No os importa, yo voy a ir a lo que he venido. Artículo del periódico. Fue arrestado por intento de asesinato. Anoche un muchacho llamado Tom Watts fue arrestado por la policía por intento de asesinato en el conocido restaurante La Campana de Plata, Percival Street. El sospechoso fue visto delante del restaurante apuntando con una pistola a los clientes durante un minuto, pero sin disparar. Los testigos denunciaron de inmediato su comportamiento. Watts fue arrestado sin oponer resistencia, pero se negó a dar explicaciones por sus acciones. Solo estuvo dispuesto a decir su nombre. El arma estaba cargada, confirmó el agente que respondió a nuestras preguntas. Es probable que Watts sufra la condena de los tribunales de su majestad debido a su falta. El joven ingresará en prisión durante al menos unos años. Estaba en prisión por intento de asesinato.
Tom has so much alcohol, he could keep this district afloat for quite some time.
Vale, ya ha matado a los de abajo. No tenía ninguna oportunidad. Vamos a ver. ¿Y nada más por aquí? ¿Chelines? Chelines. Vale. Pues vamos a por el grandullón de abajo. Decide qué información dar a Tom Watts. Entrega las botellas de ginebra, mienta a Tom y quédate la ginebra. ¿Y para qué quiero yo la ginebra? Pregunto, ¿eh? ¿Para qué cojones iba a querer yo la ginebra? Hostia, no sabía que se podía cruzar de esta forma tan rápida. Vámonos. Toma, Tom.
Welcome back, Doctor.
You lied to me, Tom. Your warehouse wasn't empty. It was inhabited with armed
I'm sorry, Dr. Reed, but I thought those Prewen guards would be willing to let someone like you pass without trouble.
That was devious of you, Tom.
I apologize, Doctor. But
here is your booze. I hope it will appease your customers. Just try not to kill anyone with this.
believe me, Doctor, most of my customers are less agreeable when sober.
Why does your waitress feel in danger working on the dock?
This part of town is dangerous for all, but for women it's worse, as always. Sabrina is a brave girl, but she can't help feeling...
Do you think she has good reason to feel this?
Of course I am. The truth is, she's tougher than me deep in...
Why not leave town and start a new life after you got out of jail?
I grew up in the East End. This is where my roots are. This is where I want to help others and die, eventually.
Do you think the docks will always be a hive of scum and villainy?
As long as poverty and fear run the show, I don't see how it would change. Misery loves company, as they say.
Don't you feel threatened, staying in such a violent and criminal neighborhood?
I've made peace with my violent past, Dr. Reed. I may not be a pacifist, but I'm not angry.
Tenemos todas las pistas, casi. Es decir, lo encarcelaron y prefirió quedarse en vez de irse. Tiene cefalea esta mujer.
Tell me about your arrest, Fred.
I tried to kill someone. I got arrested. I paid my debt and I have nothing.
So you mean you're
Yeah, why do you think this is the last pub open? I have nothing to hide and I don't judge. That's a relief for many.
Do you think prison changed you? Made you a better man?
Oh, I don't know about that. All I brought back is bad memories.
But do you feel cleansed of you?
All I know is that I'm at peace. I did what I did, but I wouldn't do it again. Does that make me a better man?
You attempted murder.
I was given an order to kill.
Daba órdenes.
I was an obedient.
Why did you join?
Because I finally felt useful. Do you have any idea what it means to feel
Parte de los
respected when the
Wet
rest
Boys,
of the world
entonces.
shits on you?
So you were ordered to kill someone?
I don't know if you can possibly understand, but I couldn't kill him. I just stood there pointing my gun.
Why couldn't you?
My target was eating in that fancy restaurant with mirrors and music. He was eating, drinking, laughing. He was having such a good time. I hated him for his bottomless appetite and easy life of easy pickings.
You refused to kill him because you wanted to feel some of that happiness.
Exactly. The man was a bloody landlord who rented overpriced flats. A selfish bastard. But he made me smile.
No te preocupes, lo maté yo.
Goodbye, Miss.
Are they stupid or something?
I should have offered a drink to the boy.
You're still working at this hour?
Tell me, Sabrina, do you really believe Tom had...
He proves it to me every day. He tells the truth. Tom...
And you don't think he might fall back?
We can all do terrible things, Dr. Reed. And we never know what we're really capable of until it's too...
Were you aware of Tom's past?
That's the first thing he told me when he offered me the job. He didn't want me hearing about his past from anyone.
Did it surprise?
Not really. I was all...
Most people would have run away because...
Not me. I thought a man like him could give me stability.
Goodbye.
Vale. Pues todas las investigaciones del distrito hechas. Ya puedo matar a todo el que quiera. Vale, pues vámonos a la principal. Nada más que hacer. ¿Tenemos cura para darle una cefalea a la vieja zumbada? Vale, migraña. Vale, ya. Tengo que craftearme otra cefalea.
The wet boot boys. Lost boys will be more fit.
Opa. Ahora estamos. Ni una nota ni nada. Aquí está en it. De la parte de arriba, donde está la... Y el vendedor de segunda. No parece ver nada demasiado. Vale, de aquí he salido. ¿Dónde estaba la casa de la mujer esta? Ahí. Toc toc.
Good evening.
Voy a darte una cura para cefalea. La podría comer tranquilísimamente, pero me da una mierda.
Do you require...
No. Pues ahora sí, vamos a la principal. Por cierto, habría que hablar con las dos mujeres estas random que no he hablado. Y no era. ¿Dónde era, tío? ¿No estaban por aquí? Nuevo refugio esto, supongo. Trabajo. ¿No? Bueno. Ahí está. Aquí era.
It's locked, all right.
Tenemos esta y aquí tenemos esta otra. Son pacientes, ¿no? Plegaria escrita a mano. Señora, esta es mi plegaria por mi querida madre, Gertrude Paxton, que ahora espera a sus hijas en el cielo. Hasta que ese día llegue, te doy las gracias por ayudarme a empezar el día y a sobrevivir en la más honesta modestia y pobreza. Por favor, proteja al bueno del señor Hampton, que nos deja pasar la noche en su refugio. Pido humildemente tu perdón por el rencor que le guardo a mi hermana, Giselle, tras la muerte de nuestra madre. Que Dios la bendiga. Gracias, Señor, por escuchar mis plegarias. Amén. Ajá. Lottie y su hermana Giselle Paxton son pobres y no tienen casa desde la muerte de su madre.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Vaya napia.
Can I help you?
A fancy doctor lurking at night by the docks? Not fishy at all.
And what about you? Working outside at night in this dangerous part of town.
You want to know my secret?
Is it not dangerous to work here at night?
As long as I have good legs, I can run away from trouble. The sad saint now provides me and my sister a bed and a roof. I don't want to lose that.
Are you homeless, miss?
Mr. Hampton's night asylum is our new home now. It's a safe place for me and my...
Bueno,
what can you tell me about the sad?
It's just the nickname of Sean Hampton, the sad saint.
What can you tell me about this place?
It may be okay for a strong girl like me, but a dandy doctor from the city like yourself, you better...
You really think I should go back to a safer place?
No. I think you had better stay and help as many...
Which local dangers must I have?
Well, The gangs, the thieves, the drunks, the jobless. A man with your fancy clothes will...
Well, I am not someone so easily intimidated.
Glad to hear that. And if you get into trouble, you can always seek help at Shornhampton Shelter. No one would...
Lottie, tell me...
Giselle killed her.
¿Cómo
Plain
que
and
se la
simple.
mató?
She killed her with her daily whims, her laziness.
That's quite a statement. You can't kill someone because you're...
Mother was very ill, but I forgave Giselle. What I couldn't stand was how she cried at her funeral like
Perhaps your sister is not as tough as you are.
I know that, and I don't blame her. It just makes me sad that my own sister is the person I understand.
Giselle is the only family you have left. Don't you think it's time you forget?
Sometimes words are harder to forgive than acts, Dr. Reed.
Vale.
Goodbye,
I know I promised you I'd make everything right, Mum.
Vamos a hablar con la hermana, que era la que estaba por aquí, supongo. La hermana, tío. Ahí. ¿Qué hace ahí? Ah, no, está dentro también. Ahí está. Periódico antiguo. La bomba explotó poco después del amanecer frente a la fábrica de municiones Dawson & Dawson, la empresa más grande del distrito. La detonación reventó todas las ventanas de las fábricas en la zona norte de Southwark. Es un milagro que solo haya habido 2 víctimas, declaraba Alexander Brayton, superintendente jefe.
It's locked, all right.
Es Giselle Paxton. Son iguales,
Good
¿verdad?
evening, miss. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Más o menos.
May I have your
Good evening, sir. My name is Giselle Paxton.
Have we met before?
No, but I just need to look at your fancy clothes to know that you must be desperate to visit the doctor.
That's quite
Sí,
judgmental
contigo.
of you.
Sir, I've led enough strikes when I had a job.
May I ask what you do?
I'm killing myself scraping for a living. And you? Have you ever had to struggle in your entire life?
Ay, esta me la puedo comer también, sí. La sana.
As I told you, I'm a doctor. You have to work a lot to earn that.
Oh, a doctor. Born with
Why such hatred? Are you judging me by my...
Of course I am. Fuck, you're so blind. You don't even see your privilege. Lazy people like...
Madre mía, cómo estamos, ¿eh?
What can
La
you
buena
tell me
envidia.
about this vicinity?
¿Cómo le corre
Tell you
por
what.
dentro?
Just spend a few weeks here, and then ask me that question.
If you have something to say...
Oh. You want information instead? Well, here's some for you. Giselle Paxton does not like you at all.
You don't know me, Miss Paxton, and yet you see me at...
Your manners, your clothes, your words tell me everything about you, sir. I know your kind, and you don't.
You're right. I have never suffered from poverty. But that doesn't mean I don't fight it, and it's...
I really doubt you ever had to fight for anything.
Giselle, I know you sleep at Shornhampton Shelter.
He provided a roof for me and my sister.
Why is that? Giselle,
He provided...
why is that?
He's always sad,
Me había saltado esto.
like he's about to cry. He's always asking us to get closer to God, to give ourselves to the Lord.
You speak of strikes and class enemy.
Era una
Am I right to
revolucionaria.
assume you're involved in...
You bet I am. Well, I was. Nowadays, I'm just another worker blacklisted by the...
You lost your job because of your beliefs.
Those bastards really hate a worker who refuses slave wages and unsafe conditions, especially...
Isn't the whole point of trade unions to help...
A few nights back, I lost the money my companion...
What really happened?
I
Y se ha perdido el dinero del sindicato al que pertenece.
Too much that night.
Ah, muy bien.
Strange men saw me count the money in that bar. Some sort of militia.
Nueva investigación.
Giselle, tell me...
After our father died, Mother was...
Hell? What do you mean? You should talk to your sister. Whatever happened when your mother died, the truth lies somewhere between your two versions.
I don't want to talk about that. It was years ago. We packed...
Nada más. De momento nada más.
Well,
vale, tenemos nueva investigación. Esta. Vale, está por ahí en la otra punta. Vale, pues vamos a subir de nivel. ¿Y algo aquí? Sí. Espérate, porque lo puedo cruzar por aquí, el puente. Bueno, puedo abrir la puerta por aquí, mejor dicho. Coño. Basta, Es más rápido en darme un golpe que en darle dos. Coño, ese de ahí arriba. Buah, estos son súper débiles. Oh, nice. La puta madre. Tienes... Anda. ¿No hay nada más por aquí? No. Pues vamos a dormir. Y lo vamos a ir dejando por aquí. Vamos a ir a comer. Y luego continuaremos con Horizon Zero Dawn por la tarde. Me quería subir esto, el daño del desgarrón. Me quería subir. 2000, joder. Desgarrón. Atravesarás tus presas con tanta profundidad que tendrás sangre con cada golpe. O has aprendido a usar la fuerza de tus garras y ahora al atacar a una presa ejercerás un efecto aturdidor. O sea, esto es tunea. De todas maneras vale 3000, no me lo puedo pillar. Me puedo subir más las jeringas. Tú dale. Vale, lo confirmamos. Y a ver cómo cambia el estado de salud de los distritos. Vamos a ver. Ya estamos, tío. No es la primera vez que me crashea al irme a dormir y ver cómo evoluciona el distrito, la verdad. Vale, a ver. ¿Habrá sido después de haber descansado o antes? Después. Vale, a ver. 94, este está sano. Y tal. Pembroke ha bajado, ¿eh? Está grave. Pero de momento aguanta. Y ya está. De momento solo tenemos 2 distritos en uso. Este está en la puta. Y el West End todavía no lo hemos tocado. Vale, sea como fuere, pues lo dejaremos aquí. Y luego por la tarde continuaremos con Horizon Zero Dawn. Así que un saludo, queridos papadafílicos, y nos vemos.